Can I have the grow and the retail in the
same building?
I believe you can.
Okay, that's pretty awesome.
You'll save a little bit of cost there, and then considering it's a single license,
but that'll be interesting. That becomes a strategic, decision whether depending on where you can.
Do you want to keep your grow and your manufacturing and your retail all in the same location,
and where
or
you can
have
find the space, right?
Yes.
Because what I'm speaking about later is the intersection of real estate and cannabis. And
right.
The hard part about what's happening right now in the state is, finding the space before you can get your application in, or as part of your application in, but you don't have zoning yet because most of the municipalities here have put in moratorium to preclude cannabis activities until January 1 of 25.
Whoa!
So how are we gonna? We're not gonna have an application round unless they're gonna have an application round. Okay, and then social equity, hopefully they really lower the bar. Like in Illinois, I didn't even have to do real estate. In Missouri, you have to identify it but not control it.
Okay, hello everybody. This is Max Juhasz from Dope SEO. We are here with Mita Unshackled at the Lucky Leaf Expo in Minneapolis, Minnesota, day one. We're kicking off the morning here. The crowds are coming in. The people are showing up. It's a pretty full-packed house of vendors. Like I said before, this is Max Juhasz from Dope SEO with my wonderful co-host. We're reunited. We haven't seen each other since MJ BizCon.
Tom from Cannabis Legalization News. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic. I'm not the only lawyer on the podcast today, which is great. So you're going to get billed twice for watching this
double
one.
Billed.
We
double
also
billed.
have Mitch here from Hinshaw Culbertson. Mitch, thank you for joining us on Mita Unshackled.
Thank you for having me.
So what's your practice area?
My practice area is cannabis, commercial real estate, and business.
Those are intertwined because the commercial real estate and the business aspect of the cannabis very, very nestled together.
Absolutely.
So I am working on a YouTube about cannabis lawyers, and those are two of the actual practice areas that you need. Very important ones. That and then administrative regulatory is probably those three you could form a pretty good stool on.
Exactly.
If you know the real estate and business and administrative and regulatory, that's most of the industry. After that, then you can get into patents and other like IP stuff, but I'm sure you guys have somebody for that.
Yeah, much smarter than me.
Well, it's trademarks and
those
stuff.
IP guys and gals, they're the
ones.
They're the bomb.
They're the ones that make everything work.
They use the verb comprise all the time.
Exactly.
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
And their billable rate is much higher than yours and mine.
Well,
if you notice that.
That is true, but then like they have to pass the patent bar if they're going to really charge those prices, and so they've passed another bar exam.
Exactly.
So for everyone that's not an attorney, I'm going to ask all the dumb non-attorney questions because I've already. This is just.
Yeah. Max, please.
Hello, I'm not an attorney, so I already hear the legalese kicking in, and I'm just like, I am already lost. What does an IP attorney do compared to what you do compared to, and then like how, obviously you're here in Minnesota, right?
Yes.
All right, let's start with the first question. What is the definition of comprise, and why is it so important for patent and like IP stuff?
Because like if you're doing a patent, you describe an invention, and they always use the verb comprised.
Right. It's nothing more magical than that.
Really?
No, right.
But why is that the magic word?
I don't know.
Term of art.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. So, you're here in Minnesota.
Yes.
Are you, like right now with Minnesota, it's going rec, right?
Yes.
It's been medical.
Gone rec, right?
Medical.
It's gone rec, but have they opened rec dispensaries yet?
No.
Okay, so there's the licensing and everything else is still kind of up in the air.
Correct.
Up until now, who have you been working with? Has it been mostly medical, or has it been trying to get the rec pushed?
So it's a great question.
Okay.
I was actually the in-house general counsel for one of the two medical cannabis manufacturers here before I re-entered the world of private practice at Hinshaw. So my life, much to your point before about administrative and regulatory affairs, everything I did in that role as their in-house general counsel revolved around compliance, regulatory affairs, interacting with the government, facility management, risk management, real estate, right? Corporate work.
Okay.
And so
All the important stuff that keeps people in business
Correct.
and stops them from being sued and shut down.
Yes,
Very
right.
important.
Okay.
And
yeah.
You can still get sued.
You can still get sued, but at the
lawsuits
same,
are like lunch.
but I mean, staying within compliance and doing everything else, and this is why I think a lot of cannabis businesses, when they first open up, like they need someone like
Correct.
you to make sure that they are compliant, even though every point of sale is compliant and every payments processing company is compliant and everything
Right.
else is compliant.
Every hemp company
And every hemp
here.
company is compliant. You know, you do need somebody to. I'm assuming
Yes.
fact check that
Yeah.
and make sure.
Yes, and you know,
Okay.
at the end of the day, it all weaves together because, you know, I tell clients all the time, when you get your license, that's just half the battle.
Right.
Keeping your license
Right.
is really the other half of the battle, and
Right.
staying compliant is a big deal. And to your point, at some point, the hemp side of the business, they're also going to have to be compliant. The hemp-derived world here, and you asked a question about who I'm doing a lot of work with now. There are clients in the state of Minnesota that are actively growing and actively selling
Okay.
permissibly on tribal land. So
Okay.
I'm working with Native American tribes.
There is a lot of cool, like, because that's where the rec is, right? Like, they're
Right now.
Rec for Minnesota is on tribal land.
Correct.
So you're working with the
The nations.
the nations. Okay, there we go. I was going to go
Correct.
with my entitled white guy stuff here, and like I don't know what to say. So I'll say it for everyone. By the way, I'm Max. I'll be here all day. So okay, so you're working with the nations to help them just, I guess, stay compliant within. But how does that work? Because they're on their own land.
Correct. So it's less about them being compliant with stateside regs
Right.
and statutes. It's more about helping develop a program that is quality driven,
Nice.
that is really based on being best in class and understanding there are no shortcuts in this in these consumer type of products. They want to have a really strong competitive product that is of the highest quality. So helping navigate that process is what I'm doing. Plus, you know, everything else that comes with their business.
Mhm.
Cannabis businesses are like, take the regulatory affairs aside, they're still a business.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And they still need legal work that,
Right.
that
To protect them from everything that goes
Yeah.
on.
Contracts breach.
Yeah.
yeah, everything, HR, employment,
HR.
insurance, risk management, everything else that comes with it, they still need. So I'm representing clients like that. I'm representing, you know, manufacturers and retailers of hemp-derived products right now. The THC products here, that you can get them
Buy at
anywhere.
a liquor store.
Right.
Right.
Or, yeah, they actually
I was at a
have-
coffee shop that offered THC infused coffee, and you know they were like, add some THC to your coffee. I was
Yeah.
like, that's different.
For how much?
Oh, I don't know. It was like $5 or $15 or something. You know, like I guess it was like a shot. Like it was like add 5 milligrams to your coffee.
Wow.
That's great.
And I was like, this is interesting. Like, I don't
Is
know.
this legal? It is.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
guess here it is. You know,
For now.
for now.
now.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that is an interesting component of the Minnesota rubric. They went first with the low-dose hemp-derived THC products and beverages. Explain what the Minnesota did there, because that is something I think is unique to the Minnesota market relative to all the other laboratories of democracy legalizing it.
Well, I mean, in a simple answer, I think they backed into it at first. I don't think that they intended on the result that came out by allowing the loopholes within hemp to be essentially codified here and go ahead and make the products as long as it's, you know, the 5 milligrams, you know, less than 0.3% drop, you know, all
Right.
of that.
Gotcha.
They went ahead and and inadvertently, I think, did that. And now what they've realized is, you know, the horses are out of the barn. There's, I don't know how many millions of dollars have been invested into this product market, and you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? So
It's
what
really
they're
hard.
doing now, it's really
I
difficult.
mean, you use a toothpick and like kind of shove it back in there, but it's
Right.
it's a bit of a process. Yeah.
And so now they're figuring out, okay, we're going to keep the business, and some of the products are really well done,
Mhm.
and I think they're going to be here to stay. I think the beverages, the really good beverages, they're here to stay.
Okay.
And
They're made at breweries, right?
well, some of them are made at breweries, others are made in co-packing facilities
Okay.
here, and they taste, you know, the ones that taste great are awesome,
Right.
and
And the ones that taste like grass?
You know, maybe that's
have
a
a grass
preferred.
one?
I mean, some people like that. It's not.
I love
want
it.
the sugar.
Yeah,
I
I don't like how fruity they are. I'm like, do you got any?
Do you have anything that tastes like a yard after I cut the grass?
Yeah, like an IPA,
some
but like
mud.
without the alcohol. Put some weed in it.
I want to taste my, like after I cut the grass, feeling on my shoes, like in the back of my throat for 10
well,
minutes
then it's
after.
either that, or it's all
drink-
like, hey, would you like to drink another lemonade? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, really.
Or you
I'm
can
not
do what
big
my
into-
wife does, which is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
what is that?
Well, I mean,
Right?
it's kind of like I mean, some of those drinks there, you do it and you're like, oh, this is a. Yeah, I guess you drink enough of them, you don't taste it anymore. You're like, oh, this is delicious.
Right.
One of the things about loopholes
chewing weed.
though, with law, if you codify it, it's no longer a loophole.
That's what they did.
Right.
And it's a statute. Yeah,
Right.
And
so,
that's what they did.
yeah.
So essentially, once again, back to us that are non-legalies. What does that mean? Is that just for beverages, or is that for?
Well, it's for edibles.
Okay.
Low dose.
So any
Low dose.
consumables, in a sense.
Consumables
Okay.
that are, edible.
Okay.
Is it 10 milligrams or less?
5.
5?
Five.
Okay.
Okay.
So 5 milligrams or less per serving.
Of the edible, but you can have up to, well, it's 10 milligrams in the can. I can't recall.
As long as
exactly
it's
what
2
the one was.
servings
As long
in
as
the can?
it's 2 servings
Okay.
in the can. Right.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
That's when I have a can of Coke.
That's
2 servings.
That's 2 servings.
Right.
Because you're supposed to split that can of Coke with your buddy.
Right.
No, of course.
Yeah. You don't drink the whole can.
Don't
Have a
leave 'em
Coke and a
hanging.
smile. All right. Well, that's really interesting that they're doing that. What are they going to do when it comes? Because the reservations, the nations can make up their own rules. They self-govern. They've codified the low-dose hemp beverages.
Can the
and
nations
edibles.
do higher dosage?
They can do.
So they can do like
essentially-
100 milligrams, 1,000 milligrams.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry, I
mean,
cut
if-
off your train of thought, but I was like really curious about that because they don't fall under the same statute.
Right.
The question will be what happens to the consumer once they leave the reservation.
Mm.
Right? That's the issue. And
Mm.
the nations, the one that I'm working with, is concerned. They're concerned about that. They want people to come back. They want
Right.
people to trust their products.
Right.
They want, and so can they? Yes, but I think what that's the sovereign immunity component to this, which is, they're the nation within the state that they have the right to govern themselves.
Right.
And this is the system that they've chosen to operate in. And other nations within the state of Minnesota may do things a little bit differently, but I'm selective with who
Okay.
I work with, and
You
I wanna
always
work
should
with,
be, yeah.
I want to work with groups that want to be the best in class. That's really important.
Are the nations going to be able to export to licensed facilities after there are licensed facilities in the state of Minnesota?
That's a great question, and I think there's compacting that's required under the new legislation. So a compact is another word for contract
Right.
between the state and the nations, right? And so the terms of those compacts are being worked out now between all of the 11 federally recognized nations in Minnesota and the governor's office.
There are 11 nations here in Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's not necessarily large. There's some states like California have hundreds, right? It's
Not aware.
right.
Not aware.
It's
Interesting.
yeah.
Really? There's 100 nations in California?
Well, I think there are more. And then there's the
Where?
question of what's federally recognized and what's not. I don't.
Gotcha.
California's huge. Have you ever
Yeah.
been to Humboldt?
Yeah.
You get lost there, bro.
You can, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. You've never heard of like a reservation in California,
Well, I haven't really done any research into it.
right? Okay.
Well, the most important thing is the laws in Minnesota is the relevant topic
Yes.
for this program.
Yes. Let's not talk about California.
Sorry.
What do we know about how the applicationing process is going to work? Because I know there's like a litany of different license types in Minnesota. Some, like the meso license, I've never seen that anywhere else. But how do we get one of them licenses?
Meso license?
Yep,
Yeah.
meso license.
Okay.
So-
let's explain this.
So we start with the 16 license classes as of right now. Now that's going to likely change because there's been an amendment to our legislation, a technical correction bill that's already.
Already?
It's already
Okay.
passed through the House here, and it's now sitting with the Senate for hearings next week.
Oh, good.
And I think they're eliminating some of the license classes that are in the medical side.
Okay.
So but as of right now, is the way the law sits on the books. There are 16 license classes, and vertical integration in the state of Minnesota has been prohibited by statute, except in 3 particular license classes: a micro business, a meso business, and then the medical business combination license, which probably won't apply to 99.9% of the applicants here.
right.
That's
Because
for the-
those are just the ones that are already operating. And There's only a handful of operators in the medical space in Minnesota, right?
2.
Wow.
That is, you can fit 2 things in a hand. And then I should have said couple. I should have said couple. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So what is a mezzo license?
A mezzo license is beautiful. I'll let him go ahead.
Yeah, what is a mezzo
But
license?
you know what? I'm super impressed.
Yeah.
You're super knowledgeable about.
He's a pretty smart
This is what
guy.
I do this nationwide.
He does this for a living.
Professionally.
I
you
mean,
know, and
that's
so-
amazing. I mean, it's hard enough to learn one state's set of, rules and statutes, but that's really impressive.
It's good to do what you
and I
do
mean
and
that.
only do what you do.
So a mezzo license
Yes.
is a way that the state legislature has really conferred vertical integration on a smaller craft industry model. So modeling it like it was a craft brewery, where they want you'd be able to grow, you'd be able to manufacture, you create your own brand in the process of doing that. Then you
Okay.
get up to 3 retail locations. So you can really develop your own product line and keep the distribution, the chain of distribution, internal to yourself, while also carrying.
So
other
you can
products.
basically run. You're your own supply chain all the way
Yes.
through up to 3 locations.
Up to 3 locations.
Okay.
That's right.
But at 15,000 square feet of
And that's
flowering
the key.
canopy, you're probably looking at 9,000 pounds, unless we get into triploid genetics. Not going to talk about those.
Right.
So like 9,000 pounds a year, and so that can easily batch into those 3 dispensaries. Are there shelf space limitations and restrictions in Minnesota, or are those not there yet?
Not there yet.
Okay.
Not to my knowledge. By the way, you didn't tell me that I was going to be doing this with someone who's super smart and another person who's super knowledgeable and smart. So
I'm really not that super knowledgeable
I didn't
and
know what
smart.
to expect when I showed up today, and I'm like,
You're at an
I'm
AmLaw
humbled.
100 law firm.
Yeah, I know, but it's still.
Oh, you're used to people asking you dumb questions. See, like, here's the thing.
Nobody who's asking a dumb question can afford Hinshaw. Yeah.
I asked the dumb questions, but I guess they're intelligent dumb questions. And it's not like, so who cut your hair? Because
Right.
I really like it. By the way, I really do like your hair. But like the.
It's good. I got a cut last night just for this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it's a fresh cut,
it's like
dude.
my
Like,
big
where
boy
did you go?
haircut for today.
Oh, I wanted to get a big boy haircut. It was.
He
you
wore
know,
a hat instead.
Instead, I wore a hat because things happened this morning. That
Hard-hitting investigative journalism.
and we're
Unshackled,
Meet Unshackled. So
And a micro license, I think, is 5,000 square feet and
Correct.
one location.
In one location, that's correct.
Yep, and those are going to be excellent. 5,000 square feet, that you can make over 2,000 pounds, 2,000 to 3,000 pounds a year if you know what you're doing.
And the capital required for the 2 different license classes are significantly different, right?
okay.
But
So I think you're getting a signal.
We're getting a
Well,
signal.
we're
and
getting
so,
the 5-minute signal, but that's fine.
we can talk
run.
about cap on that then, because if you're going to do an indoor grow of 5,000 square foot of canopy, I've seen people in Illinois spend that was for 14,000. So let's cut that into a third. About $3 million, $3 to $5 million. And then for a dispensary, we got to have one that we're standing up in my hometown of Peoria, Illinois. That'll probably be about $2 million to become operational. And so you're looking at, and then are you able to co-locate? Can I have the grow and the retail in
in the same building.
I believe you can.
Okay,
All
that's
right.
pretty awesome.
You'll save a little bit of cost there, and then it depends. And then considering it's a single license,
But that's
that'll be interesting.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's all
That
right.
becomes a strategic,
Yeah.
decision whether depending on where you can
Do you want to keep your growing, your manufacturing, your retail all in the same location,
and where you
or
can
have it
find the
separate?
space, right?
Yes.
Because what I'm speaking about later is the intersection of real estate and cannabis. And
Right.
the hard part about what's happening right now in the state is, finding the space before you can get your application in, or as part of your application in, but you don't have zoning yet because most of the municipalities here have put in moratorium to preclude cannabis activities until January 1 of 25.
Whoa.
So how are
So-
we gonna? We're not gonna have an application round this, unless
You
they're gonna
will,
have an
social
application
equity.
round. Okay, and then social equity. Hopefully, they really lower the bar. Like in Illinois, I didn't even have to do real estate. In Missouri, you have to identify it
Yeah,
but not
you-
control it.
It's a little bit looser here. I do think it's more along the lines of identifying the real estate or the location. But I think with this bill that's technically running through now has lowered the standard or I shouldn't say lowered the standard. It's made it a little more clear. You don't actually have to have your real estate under control at the time you apply for the provisional license.
Okay,
right?
so you don't have to pay for rent.
Right.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
But the point I was trying to make before is if you can't find your space and you're stuck with the space that's in a more rural outlying county or municipality, strategically, you may not want to have your dispensary in
in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Right.
With
But
no-
you could have your grow and your manufacturing there.
Correct.
And then
You'd prefer that.
absolutely.
Especially if you
I
get
would.
well in that bitch.
Yeah.
Okay, you know,
Okay.
this is why you tune in, because we talk about the industry and quite enjoy it. And, you know, Mitch, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
What should we talk about that we haven't to wrap it up?
That's a great question. I, would like to see this industry succeed. And I guess I would ask a question back to you. What do you think a nascent industry like this needs to succeed?
You got to be careful with social equity, because I see a lot of those deals come by my desk, and the vast majority are fraud. And so, and then Illinois is at it's not doing well. It's about 1 in 4, 1 in 5 of the licenses that were awarded 2 years ago to social equity applicants are operational.
Okay.
And so, like, some people say, well, should we give them more money? I'm like, no, you should. And I think that I have a novel solution for it, and I'll write a paper on it and then charge for access. Equity, pricing.
It's like a lawyer.
Right.
It's almost like talking to two lawyers.
Right.
Yeah.
Pricing models for social equity applicant capital contributions.
I understand half of this, and it's just like I just look.
That's great.
Very impressed. Yeah, what's really cool about this whole thing is like this was not scripted. We had no idea what we were talking. Like I literally just met Mitch like 2 minutes before that we went on. He was like, "What are we going to talk about?" I was like,
Talk about the industry, man.
Let's just run, And I think that's the beautiful thing about, for one, anybody. If you've ever been on a Mita podcast, if you've ever watched a Mita podcast, this is your first time on Mita.
This is my first time.
Okay, well, welcome to Mita.
Thank you for having me.
How do people find you? Like, I mean,
So
here's the thing. So obviously, like, you specialize in a few different things. Like, who should connect with you, and how do they connect with you?
So licensed applicants can connect with me. Existing businesses that aren't necessarily plant touching
Okay.
are businesses that can reach out to me, and current existing hemp-derived manufacturers who are thinking about staying in the space or converting out into the marijuana market can reach out to me. And you can reach out to me, and my email address is just mchargo at hinshawlaw.com, hinshawlaw.com. It's right.
It's right on the
Right here.
Yeah.
Right, and I'd be happy to talk. And if I'm not the person that can help, I can definitely find the right person.
And I think
Awesome.
that's a beautiful thing to have. Well, great, Mitch. I really
Thank you.
super appreciate you jumping on, man. Like you, this was a good kickoff to the Lucky Leaf event.
Tune in to the next.
Tune into the next wonderful Mita Unshackled episode with me and Tom and another guest. Mitch, you can come back if you want. Like,
I
you
would
actually,
love it.
yeah,
This is
you
great.
can totally come back and just like you guys can do the law thing, and I'll be over here just spouting nonsense. But anyways, Tom and Mitch.
This is great.
See you next time.
Thanks. See you on the
Thank
next
you very
one.
much.